Hey, I'm Mike Moz, and this is Shot Recap. Today we're diving into movie The Blind Man Who Did Not Want to See Titanic. It's about a blind and paralyzed man who sets out on a journey to another city to watch a movie with the woman he loves. The film is partially based on true events, as the actor playing the main character actually suffered from a similar condition, multiple sclerosis, and was essentially portraying himself. Yes, they tried to shoot the film while he could still move his hands. It's filmed with empathy, using a tight, intimate perspective from the character's point of view, mimicking blindness. The camera focuses on the protagonist's face while everything else is blurred. The movie begins with the main character, Jaakko, waking up and immediately calling his friend, a woman named Sirpa. They talk about their health issues, the medications they're taking, and the recurring dream Jaakko had. Once again, he dreamt of running. The conversation soon wraps up. Both of them have things to do around the house. When Jaakko gets out of bed, we see that he's paralyzed. His legs don't respond. But that's not all. As he carefully moves around the apartment and interacts with everyday objects, it becomes clear he's also blind. While making tea and sandwiches by touch, the radio keeps him updated with the news, and his parents call to say they'll be visiting soon. During breakfast, the conversation with Sirpa continues. She suggests doing a video call, but Jaakko declines, saying it wouldn't be fair. He can't see her. They joke about his condition for a bit. Jaakko doesn't hide the reality of his situation. Still, he gives her a virtual tour of his DVD collection over the video chat, a collection he built before his vision completely faded. He shares that the last movie he tried watching was The Thing by John Carpenter, but had to stop when he couldn't tell Kurt Russell apart from the dog. Among the other titles on the shelf is a sealed copy of Titanic. James Cameron's box office hit remains unopened, still wrapped in plastic. As he shows it, Jaakko drops his phone and has to feel around on the floor to find it. Using Sirpa's voice as a guide, she confesses she recently saw her doctor. Her body has developed a tolerance to the current medication, and soon she'll need to switch to something stronger. At one point, Jaakko falls out of his chair. He lies on the floor, unable to get up. Sirpa suggests calling someone for help, but he tells her that his nurse will be arriving in about an hour. Help pass the time, she keeps chatting with him. She asks why he never watched Titanic. Jaakko admits that he used to love James Cameron's work, back when Cameron was making the best sci-fi and action movies out there. But the moment Cameron decided to make a perfectly calculated tearjerker, the kind of film aimed at cashing in on dating couples looking for something emotional, Jaakko, a true cinephile, swore he'd never watch what he considered a sellout commercial fake. Lying on the floor, trying to hold back tears of frustration, Jaakko tells Sirpa that in his mind, he pictures her not as some alien queen, but as Ellen Ripley from Alien. Their conversation is cut short by the doorbell. Someone has arrived. It's the caregiver. Worried, she helps him up and into his chair, asking if he had any intention of ending his life. While the caregiver tidies up and makes food, they chat. Jaakko jokingly calls her by the names of famous real and fictional nurses known for being tough or cruel. Left alone again, Jaakko steps out onto the balcony and takes a few hits from his vape. In the quiet, he overhears his upstairs neighbors talking about him. They call him a junkie and complain about the smell of weed coming from below. What they don't know is that Jaakko uses cannabis for medical reasons. It helps him relax, as his organizer helpfully reminds him. Later, his father calls to schedule a walk in the park for the next day, but Jaakko isn't in the mood to meet with his parents, so he brushes it off, claiming he's busy, and ends the call. The day winds down with another call from Sirpa. They talk about dogs in movies for a while. Then Jaakko gets ready for bed. Once again, he dreams that he's running, but this time, the dream is interrupted by an incoming call. It's Sirpa. Jokingly, she suggests that to spice up his dreams, he should finally watch Titanic. It's clearly a dark joke. His days follow a strict, repetitive routine. After his daily reminder to take his relaxants, Jaakko counts the prescribed 5 seconds, and right on cue, another call comes in. It's his father again. But instead of talking, Jaakko replies with a dictated text message, lying that he's out having fun at a fair. Then he vapes on the balcony again, and hears the neighbors talking. This time, they've found out he's not just in a wheelchair, but blind as well. Not that it makes them any more sympathetic. In another call with Sirpa, she casually mentions that in Titanic, the character she relates to most is the iceberg. Sirpa says she's feeling worse. Her illness is progressing. There's no reliable treatment for her type of vasculitis, an immune system-related inflammation of the blood vessels. She wonders aloud whether she'll even get to see him before one of them dies. Before ending the call, they listen to music together and pretend they're dancing with each other. The next morning, rang. Instead of a phone call, Yako gets a reminder from his organizer. Surprised and confused, he immediately tries to call Serpa. The phone rings, but she doesn't pick up. After breakfast, he checks the lottery results on a whim and finds out he's won nearly 6,000 euros. Excited, he calls Serpa again to share the news. This time, she answers, but her voice is weak from the illness. The new meds aren't working, so there's only one option left: chemotherapy. And if that doesn't help, then it's the end of the road. When the caregiver arrives, Yako tells her he needs to travel to another city urgently today. But she can't just drop everything. She has other patients lined up. Before she leaves, he asks her to grab a couple of Carpenter movies from the shelf. Then Yako calls the train station to check the schedule and books tickets for himself and an escort. After that, he orders a home theater system for Serpa, spending his entire lottery winnings. Then he calls to tell her his plan. That's when we learn the truth. He doesn't actually have an escort. Yako's plan is to rely on the kindness of strangers to help him where he can't manage alone. He gets dressed, smiling with quiet satisfaction, and waits for the taxi. The driver helps him into the car and heads for the train station. On the ride there, Yako asks him to roll the windows down for some fresh air and turn the music up. He's savoring this rare moment of freedom. At the station, the taxi driver hands him off to a train attendant. The man wheels Yako down a ramp onto the platform, promising to come back later to help him board. While waiting for the train, Yako gets a call from his dad. But as they talk, some shady guy nearby notices the blind man in a wheelchair and tries to rob him. Yako causes a commotion, scaring off the thief, though he has no idea where the guy ran off to. A nearby police officer comes over and helps Yako board the train. During the ride, he hears a child asking their parents, "Why does that man need a wheelchair?" Yako video calls Serpa to prove he's really on the train now. A fellow passenger sits across from him and strikes up a conversation, complimenting Yako's escape from New York t-shirt. But when Yako starts passionately explaining John Carpenter's visual genius, the man quickly bails on the conversation. Dozing off to the rhythmic clatter of the train, Yako dreams again that he's running. When he wakes, he asks aloud where they are. The same guy from earlier responds, and Yako asks if he's seen his missing phone. The man says no, it's nowhere to be found. Yako begins to suspect the phone may have been stolen, maybe by that same thief from the station. He asks to borrow the man's phone, but the guy claims the battery is dead. Still, he agrees to help Yako off the train and hand him off to station staff. But as the man wheels Yako along the platform, the blind man suddenly hears his own phone ringing. It's his father calling. That's when it hits him. This guy is the thief. The man hisses at Yako to keep quiet or he'll slit his throat. He pushes Yako out of the station and into a warehouse where he takes a call, telling someone he has something to show them. Once inside, the thief leaves Yako alone and goes to meet his partner. Yako, now fully realizing how bad things are, starts feeling around with his cane, trying to understand his surroundings. When the criminals return, they snatch away his cane. One of them waves a hand in front of Yako's face to test whether he can actually see. He can't. They grab his phone and his bank card, rummage through his bag, and find nothing but old DVDs. Yako pleads to be let go, but first the thugs want his card's PIN. They hope to clean out whatever social benefits he has left. Yako tries to bargain, asking them to at least leave him somewhere public instead of abandoning him in the middle of nowhere. But the thugs threaten to break his fingers unless he gives them the number. One of them heads off to the nearest ATM to test the PIN, while the other stays behind to guard Yako. To kill time, the guy starts watching videos on Yako's phone. Hearing the sounds, Yako suggests he check out some challenge videos, particularly the ones where people try to eat surströmming, infamously foul-smelling fermented Swedish fish. That actually sparks a conversation between them. During the exchange, Yako realizes this guy is the same one who tried to rob him at the train station. The smell must have given him away, the weed scent. But unlike the thug, Yako can legally smoke it for medical reasons. Yako hands his weed vape to the thief, who admits he's had drug problems. Yako guesses that addiction is what dragged him into debt and made him desperate enough to rob a blind man. After taking a few puffs, the thug helps himself to Yako's relaxant pills too. Despite that, their conversation goes on. Yako shares that he suffers from multiple sclerosis and was traveling to meet Serpa, a woman he met online. The honesty seems to break down some of the thug's defenses. Moved, he agrees to let Yako go, without waiting for his partner to return from the ATM. But the other guy comes back too quickly. He knows now that Yako's card holds 6,000 euros, but the daily withdrawal limit prevented him from getting more than a small amount. Convinced they've been tricked, the thugs want to take all the money, but it's not that simple. Yako doesn't remember the password to his online bank. His caregiver always handled it. Frustrated that the jackpot is slipping away, the older thug flies into a rage and starts beating Yako, but the violence gets them nowhere. The situation is a stalemate. Jocko tells them to just let him go if there's nothing left to steal, but the younger one suddenly remembers Sirpa and her address. The mood darkens. They threaten to pay her a visit if Jocko won't go to the bank himself and hand over the money. But Jocko, remembering how close both he and Sirpa already are to death, refuses to bend to two coked-up losers desperate for an easy score. Moved by his words, the train companion says he'll take the money himself and hand it over. Just don't kill the cripple. The older thug pulls out a utility knife. Tilting Jocko's head back, he runs the blade lightly along his neck, just enough to leave a mark. Then he steps away. The two of them leave the warehouse, abandoning Jocko on the floor. Jocko asks them to at least leave the phone. The older one tosses it somewhere nearby with a sneer. Find it yourself if it means that much to you. Left alone, Jocko wheels forward blindly, feeling with his hands to avoid crashing into anything. He hears voices nearby and calls for help, but no one answers. He keeps moving. Along the way, he brushes against a dangling cable from the ceiling, then runs into a wall. Suddenly, he hears a ringtone, but it stops before he can locate the phone by sound. Eventually, Jocko rolls across a wooden floor and reaches sunlight. He calls out for help again, but still no one comes. He keeps moving until suddenly one of the wheelchair's wheels gets stuck in a rut. The chair tips, and Jocko falls hard to the ground, losing consciousness. In a dream, Jocko is running again, across the same wooden boardwalk by the lake. But this time, when he looks over his shoulder, he sees himself nearby, frail, twisted by disease, a sunken version of the man he once was. Waking up, Jocko begins to crawl, dragging himself forward with what little strength he has left. He doesn't get far. After just a few meters, his body gives out. He rolls onto his back, exhausted and defeated. Quoting a line from a movie he once watched, he breaks down in tears, powerless and alone. Suddenly, a dog starts barking in the distance. Jocko calls out to it, hoping that where there's a dog, there's a person too. The dog trots up and begins sniffing him curiously. A man soon follows, the dog's owner, and asks what happened. He loads Jocko into his car and drives him to the address Jocko gives. There, Sirpa is waiting. As soon as she sees him, she runs over, tears streaming down her face. They embrace tightly, broken, weary, but finally together. Jocko says he brought something for her. From his bag, he pulls out a still-wrapped DVD copy of Titanic, what he calls the greatest love story ever told, and one he'd never wanted to watch. He asks if he can see her, just once. Carefully, he reaches out and runs his hands across her worn, fragile face. It's the first time he's ever touched her, and the only way he can truly see. The two lean in, close enough to kiss, and just as their lips are about to meet, the film ends. Thanks for watching till the end. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, then hit that subscribe button. There are more journeys like this, raw, honest, unforgettable.